welcome to the Improved Garage. So today I'm going to be working on this Mercedes Benz. It's a 2020 Mercedes Benz SLC300. So this is the hardtop convertible. It's a 2020. We bought it brand new. We did a 3-year lease, and then at the end of the lease, values were super high, so we ended up deciding to keep it, and she actually bought the car out. So this is what Jessica drives every day to work, for the most part. Sometimes she steals the green Mini or one of the other cars, but generally this is what she drives every single day, and she really does like it. So in general, this gets washed at least once every 2 weeks. It's usually weekly. I try to be pretty good about washing it every week. So if I wash anything, this is the first car that I wash every single time I do cars. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing ceramic coating. This car never had a ceramic coating. I never did one on it. When we first bought it, I wasn't really into ceramic coatings yet. I really hadn't had a lot of experience with one. The car was brand new. I didn't want it to be my first car that I did. And anyway, so I ended up just doing regular like sealant and wax in Just Car, Power Lock Plus, and Culinite 845. Which was fine. The cars worked well, stayed clean, and I use drying aid every time I wash it, and I wash it like once a week. So in general, it's always clean and nothing really sticks to it. It's got a handful of rock chips on the front. Other than that, it's in really good shape. It has about 20,000 miles on it. And I just did the 3rd service on it. We've had it for a little over 3 years. Really the only thing we've done to it, we had an issue with the driver's seat. They replaced the seat back and motor, and we put rear tires on it because she used up the rear tires. It had Potenzas, and now it has Michelin's Pilot Sport 4s on the back. So we'll probably get those for the front at some point when they wear down as well, but they actually still have quite a bit of meat left on them. The car's rear-wheel drive, so. So anyway, what we're going to be doing today is we just washed the car outside, and I've washed lots of cars on camera, so I didn't feel as though it was really necessary to show that. For my soap, I used Bilt Hamber Touchless. It's pretty late in the day, the sun's gone, and Touchless is a pretty heavy soap, so it's good at breaking down dirt and stuff like that. So I used Touchless, rinsed the car off, brought it in, dried it off. There's really like no protection on the car at all right now. So we're going to be correcting the paint where it's necessary using the Mirka. So I have the Mirka 3-inch polisher here. So if you have any interest in this Mirka, I'll put a link in the description. This polisher is amazing. I did a full video on it that I'll also link to in the description. So watch that video if you have any questions or interest in what is probably the best 3-inch polisher that's ever existed. So I'm going to start off with the back of the car. I'm going to record the video coating the back of the car. I'm just going to go step by step through each individual step. And then I'm just going to do the rest of the car off camera so that I can watch some TV or listen to music or something like that without worrying about YouTube taking down my video. The car is in really good shape, so I'm just going to be using a finishing polish for the most part. If I find any scratches or anything like that, then I'll pull out like Just Car Correcting Compound or something a little bit heavier. Brio's Fast Correcting Cream, something along those lines. So what I have here is, this is my Mirka 3-inch polisher. This is Koch Chemie Microcut, which is a compound that I really like, or a polish that I really like. It's a very fine polish. Inside this spray bottle, I have Decon Prep. I also like CarPro Eraser. I just can't buy Eraser in California anymore. I still have a little bit of it up on the shelf, but I've been playing around with Prep, and I really like Prep as well. So I would say if you're in California like me, buy Prep. The bottle's cool, if nothing else. So we're going to start off here. Now, whenever you're doing a coating, the very first thing that you want to do is you want to remove contamination. So we've already washed the car with a decontamination soap, or a soap that can break down the dirt and remove it. There are a lot of different decontamination soaps. Like I said, I use Touchless. And now we're looking for any iron deposits or anything that might need to be clay barred off. And honestly, the paint feels really good. So I don't think I'm going to have to worry about that. If you did have a section that had any sort of contamination on it, it would feel kind of crunchy, scratchy underneath your hands. And the way that you would deal with that is you would use a decontamination towel, or this is a decontamination sponge. This is from the rag company. This is clay lube. So clay lube is a lubrication. I'm using, this is Nanoskin Glide as my clay lube. But you could also use like a rinseless car wash or something along those lines. And that works really well for this as well. You basically want to provide no downward pressure. You're just kind of like rubbing it back and forth, and you're expecting it to pick up the contamination. And like I said, this car is already really clean. I just wanted to show that step. If you did have contamination on the car, then this is probably going to leave a little bit of marring behind. So it might cause you to have to correct the paint. But that contamination, getting that removed, is going to be a key to making sure the coating sticks and making sure that you don't end up with marring in the future when you're trying to dry the car off. We don't really have iron problems here like a lot of other places in the country do. So if you ended up doing larger portions of the car, I would recommend you mix up a bucket of rinseless car wash, and you use that to dunk this in and rinse it out. You can also just use a bucket of water and continue to use clay lube on the car. So I have a bucket back here. We can do it in, and let's say we had to do this section again for some reason, we could just go over it again. And like I said, we're just kind of very lightly gliding it along, getting the edges, etc. So once we've gone through our decontamination steps and we've shown that there's no contamination on the car, so we've used a decontamination sponge on this entire panel, right? And there are clay bars as well. Generally, you probably don't want to use a clay bar. Generally, you probably don't want to use a clay bar unless you have really, really heavy contamination and you need to. A clay bar is going to tend to mar the paint more than one of these decontamination sponges or the decontamination cloths. I have a sponge and I have the cloth. I actually like the cloth a little bit better. I'll put a link to that in the description, but either one works well. So I have a Scangrip Multimatch 3, and what I'm doing is I'm using that and the angles to look for any scratches or swirls in the paint. What I really like about these lights is that they have a lot of output and they have adjustable brightness and temperature. So looking at this car through this 2500 Kelvin is way different than looking at it through the 5000 Kelvin overhead lights that I have. So when we look at the car, we're looking for scratches, swirls, things like that. If we find some, we can correct them. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I don't really have any in this panel. All right, so I'm going to teach you how to polish this section. So we're dividing the trunk into thirds. We're going to take our pad and we're going to put a couple small drops of polish on here. This pad's already been primed. If you haven't used the pad already, you probably want to do a little bit more polish than what I just did. You just want to rub it into the pad to prime it like that. So now we're going to dot this out. And like I mentioned, we're going to do kind of this third of the trunk. You generally want to do a small area like this so that you can work it before the polish wears out and you're not working on too big of an area. We're going to turn the Mirka all the way down to the lowest speed. We're going to use that to spread the polish. Moving pretty quickly. We're not actually correcting. We're just spreading out the polish. And now we can use this to actually do some correction. So we're going to turn it up one speed, going to hold it here, and I'm going to work this way, up, down. You can see that I'm moving slower with this because we actually want the polisher to do some correction. And generally you want to do 4 passes. You can do more or less depending on how bad the panel is that you're working on. If you do more than 4, you're going to need to add more polish. Generally, depends on the polish and how fast you're moving. We'll go left, right again. Some paint will correct easier than others. Some colors hide scratches better than others. So your mileage may vary. And I personally have a lot of different polishes and compounds and pads. And usually when I start a project like this, I will test out a couple different ones and find the one that works for me. In this case, I kind of know this car. I've worked on it quite a bit. So I just know that this is going to work well for me. So now I like using a little bit of eraser or prep or whatever your isopropyl alcohol is, your panel wipe. And I spray the area and I just wipe this off. That keeps me from ending up with like white crap in the edges that just gets pushed in there, or dust in like these gaps and on the windows and stuff. That's why I like to do the spray. The wet removal, I think, just does a little bit better. It's kind of like when you're wet sanding drywall. Keeps your dust down. It wastes a little bit of product, I know, but time is money too. So I think that we're in a good spot here. These polish removal towels that I'm using are a Rag Company Edgeless 300, Edgeless 365, one of the two. I'll put a link in the description. So there we go. We've done the entire trunk. Now we're going to go around and we're going to correct the rest of the car. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to come back and I'm going to start doing the coating. So I'll come back to the camera after that. But this looks really good after just one step. So, all right. So now we are going to apply the coating. So you want these for the applicators. It's a CarPro foam block. These are CarPro suede applicators. I'll put a link in the description. I'm going to be applying Crystal Serum Light. It's a G-Technic product. Works very well. We can see this is still good. It gets a little hazy and there will be little floaties in it when it gets bad. I did use this for the green Mini, so it's been sitting in my cabinet for a bit. Generally, if you put the cap back on it when you're done, not this little dropper that also threads in, but the actual cap, you're usually pretty good. So you want to put an amount on there like that. You see me just do that line. And you want to apply this, same small sections, same crosshatch pattern. And we're just going to go back and forth. That, and then we're going to go left, right, like that. And this is about as large of a section as you want to do. And my weather is kind of perfect for this. It's like 65 and almost no humidity, and it works really well. So what we're kind of doing is we're looking at it at an angle and we're waiting for it to haze up a little bit and flash. And once it does, we'll take our rag. This is a CarPro Pearl, and we're going to buff it off. So I generally will take this rag, it's a 16 by 16, and I fold it into quarters just like this. And I'll take this flat area, I'll go back and forth. I'll go a little beyond the area that I did. You can feel the difference because this is smooth and this is not. And then I'll flip it over. I'll do it again, same area, like that. Make sure we get all the edges, just like that. And then we'll flip this over and I'll be able to do one more segment with that rag. So now we're going to apply the second section. If you have any sort of dust on the car, I mean, I'm in a garage with the door shut, but if you have any dust on the car or anything like that, this is a good time to use a panel wipe product like Car Pro Eraser or Geon Prep to clean the area before you apply. So again, crosshatch pattern, go a little wide, do a little overlap, and we're going to let this sit and it'll flash. And I've just got a fresh rag kind of sitting here to put it on so I'm not scratching the car up with it. Obviously you can put it on a shelf or something like that too. It's nice to have the emergency rag just in case you need it. You drop this or something, you have to remove this fast. So again, we're waiting for it to flash. It kind of turns hazy. Looks pretty good. So now again, we're going to go remove it with this section of the rag. Go over the whole thing. Then we can flip it over again. So one of these rags really has 8 quarters, and you could do a section with one of those quarters. So now we'll flip it over like this and we can get 2 more sections out of this rag. So put this here. We'll do this third section of the trunk. Okay, so we'll do it, flip the rag over, do it again, and then generally what I like to do, I still have 1/4 of this rag left. So I'm going to go to the last quarter. I'm just going to get the whole panel, but I'm going to go a little wide. All the edges, everything that was next to the panel, make sure that I got it all. And then I'm going to flip it over again, do it one last time. And you'll feel the slickness. It's actually pretty incredible if you've never done it before. So there, we've gone over the entire panel. Now, this rag is trash. So generally what I do is I'll leave these on the shelf and I use them for things like cleaning up a spill on the floor or wiping off my hose when I'm putting away my hose reel or something along those lines. So now that we've applied our Crystal Serum Light, we're going to let this dry overnight. And we're going to do EXO V5 tomorrow, which is a topper. EXO is optional, but it's going to add to the durability and the slickness of the coating, so it's kind of a recommended thing. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to do Crystal Serum Light on the whole rest of the car off camera while I watch some TV. So here we are the next day. The panel is completely dry. Everything is very slick. It feels great. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be topping. But first we want to clean the panel because there's some dust that might have settled overnight. So what I'm using here is McKee's N914, and this is diluted 256:1. So this is their rinseless dilution. And we're using a Rag Company Pluffle, which is their softest towel, to clean any dust that might have settled on the car off of the car. Be very careful not to mar. And just make sure that the panel is as clean as possible so that the EXO V5 that we're going to use as a topper sticks. As I mentioned, we're going to be using EXO V5, which is a topper designed to go over the top of Crystal Serum Light. We're using the same pad that we used yesterday, but we've got a new suede applicator, again, link in the description. We're going to apply this in the same way that we applied the CSL in a crosshatch pattern. So first up, down, and then we're going to go left, right, and just make sure that we don't have any gaps or any missing areas in coverage.
With the EXO, I do a little bit larger panels. I don't know if it's just because I get more comfortable as I do more of the car, but I'm doing the trunk here in 2 pieces, where when I did the CSL, I did it in 3. So we're just going to allow this to flash, and then we will buff it off with the same towels that we used yesterday. So again, this towel is called a Rag Company Pearl. It is a great towel for coating removal. It's my preferred towel for coating removal. I divide it into quarters, and we're going to go over all of the panel and try to remove all of the EXO and buff it off. During this process, we want to look at different angles. We want to look for haziness, like you can see a little bit on the camera there on the right. And then we just want to make sure that we don't leave any of those high spots. And we're just going to continue to buff the entire area, buff the panels next to it. Just make sure that you don't get any high spots on anything next to you. So now we're done with that panel, we can flip the rag over. I like to go over it a second time just to make sure that everything is nice and clear and that we don't leave any ceramic coating behind. And just know for sure that the panel is as clean as possible. Last but not least, when I finish up a car, I like to use my Milwaukee inspection light and take a look for any high spots or anything that I might have missed, just any spots, haziness, anything that looks abnormal. If you find something at this point, then you can clean it up by adding a little bit more EXO to your applicator and going over it again. You have about an hour to do that after the original application, but it allows you to make sure that you don't have anything left behind. And obviously you can buff it again if you find something and see if it comes off from that. Otherwise, like I mentioned, just add a little bit of EXO, go over it again with the applicator, and hopefully you'll be able to clean it off. If not, polishing is the only way to remove. And here we have the finished product. So you can see the car has a ton of gloss and shine. You can see all the reflections from the light, but the clarity of the ceramic coating and how it really doesn't look like there's anything on it at all. It's just the paint. Looking around the edges of the car, you can see the deep reflections. You could see some of the metallic flake, and you can just see how good it looks. The car is incredibly slick. Dust doesn't really stick to these ceramic coatings very well, and it's very easy to keep clean, has excellent hydrophobic properties. Just looking at it from all angles, it came out really, really great. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.